I think the Rover Cast is something that the community wants.
Embrace it.
Tell Kuro about us.
So you're telling me I have Hero Games back in this with the combat, which I know is going to be top tier.
Oh my gosh, they're nailing it.
Sign me up. Take my money. Like whatever you need, just take it.
I gotta see more. This is it. This is the game for me. I need this.
Sold. Hello everybody, it is Rover Cast episode 2. How you guys doing? Hope all is well. We have all our favorite people together today, and I just want to say thank you all for supporting us in the first episode. It was awesome. If you haven't seen it, be sure to go check it out. It is packed full of great insight and information. Today we are going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be focusing on a particular topic. The topic for today is combat. So it's a very big topic. It's probably one of the things that has drawn a lot of people to Wuthering Waves, you know, myself included. And so we're going to dive into that. Today we have with us our good friend Connor's Thoughts, we have Lobo Pixel, and we have Further Beyond. So I would appreciate it if you guys can just, introduce yourselves and we'll get into it. Today we're going to be discussing our excitement for the game, the ever-evolving conversation around casual versus hardcore, what we want from the combat, who our favorite characters are and our least favorite characters, as well as in-game and co-op.
Okay, so yeah guys, my name is Lobo Pixel Gaming on YouTube, Lobo Pixel on Twitch, and I basically am an aspiring Wuthering Waves content creator, which is why I'm part of this awesome Rover podcast. And I'm excited to be here again and excited to talk about the combat. That's like my favorite part. So ready to dive into it already.
I reject that. You're not aspiring. You are a Wuthering Waves content creator. Embrace it. Embrace who you are, Loba. What's up? I'm Connor's Thoughts. If you haven't seen my content before, cover some gacha games here on YouTube primarily. PGR and Wuthering Waves main focuses for the channel, but I do like to experiment with some other games too. So make sure to come and check out the channel after this podcast, of course. We got some great things to talk about today, and thanks for coming out.
Yeah, and my name's Further from Further Beyond Gaming. Been into Wuthering Waves since it first initially got released, and we heard bits and pieces of it in the beginning. Been covering it ever since. Big into ARPGs just in general, hack and slashes like Honkai Impact 3rd, Aether Gazer, Punishing Grey Raven, and now of course most recently Wuthering Waves. So excited to be here, honored to be here, and really want to dive into this because combat once again is probably one of the biggest and most important things in regards to Wuthering Waves in general that I know a lot of people are excited about. So once again, very honored to be here. Thank you guys.
Awesome. And myself, this is Life. Welcome to the channel, Life Lessons 2. Motivational gaming commentary. That's what we do over here. And like I said, all I can say is thank you guys for supporting thus far. Hope you guys enjoy the podcast, and let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to kind of get everybody's opinion on and pick our brains on is let's just discuss what makes us excited about the game, honestly. Like, so can everybody please share your initial thoughts on the combat and what made you so excited upon seeing it? Just like think back to that first trailer, when we first saw, I think it was like well, technically the first trailer, the teaser trailer was Yang, kind of just running into the field, the whole earth just breaking up, and then almost like Death Stranding vibes. And then you just see like these colossal Titan looking monsters. It was oh gosh, it was amazing. And then we're like, okay, interest peaked. And then you go a little bit to the next trailer where we started to kind of start seeing like some of the gameplay, right? And like, I know for me personally, I was just blown away. I was like, okay, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. So if you can go back, what were those first initial thoughts? What made you excited? And then maybe even connecting that to right now, why you might be excited or still excited for Wuthering Waves.
When I first discovered it was because of that actual teaser trailer. What I found really interesting was just like, I had a lot of questions raised, like what's going on in this world. What stood out to me the most was Yang Yang as like the main character, because like it's this like dull world, and she stood out with the blue, and like what's going on. Like I think that teaser trailer has a lot of lore depth into it that we don't know about. Like maybe this is the reason why she became like this rover per se, right? And there's a lot of questions raised on that, but yeah, I was like very curious to see like what is this game about, what's happening in this world. And for sure when I finished, I was like, I gotta see more, you know, like I need to see more.
I mean, as long as all that lore wasn't rewritten, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. So like we don't know, right?
And in particular for the combat, when you saw the next trailer, when they started to show actual combat for the game, how like what made you excited about that? What made you think like this is something I want to get invested in?
Yeah, I think the first piece of combat that I saw was the actual trailer with like Crownless when he was in its old design, the black and red. I mean the white and red, excuse me.
Yeah.
So when I first saw that, that's what blew my mind. I was like, man, this combat looks fluid, it looks good. There's and the first thing I saw was a counter and parries. I was like, this is it. This is the game for me. I need this.
Sold.
Exactly.
Man, I'm 100% with you there. Like when I was first looking into the game after watching that trailer, which hooked me on that trailer was like the mystery in the atmosphere for sure was fantastic. But yeah, it was in that Crownless fight. I had been personally experimenting with the idea of like, man, like some kind of like, you know, dueling anime game, like where it's kind of like that over the shoulder view where it's just like a one-on-one fight with these like complex bosses, maybe kind of Souls-like. And then I watched that gameplay and was like, oh my gosh, like they're nailing it. And so that was the one thing that immediately hooked me on the combat, was the way that combat trailer was put together with Crownless. 100% had me hooked. I had to see it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with both of you. Honestly, what hooked me first was knowing that Hero Games was making it. I always to find out that the developers of Punishing Gray Raven, that combat, how godlike it is, and then to come to find out that they're making this game, and to come to find out it's going to be open world, I was sold at that second. The minute that happened and I found that out, I was absolutely sold. So they had me from there. And then, of course, the trailer was amazing, right? I think they did a very good job of giving you a bit and a tease, but not giving you a whole lot to go off of. And there were so many videos, including myself, just breaking that one trailer down alone to the minute detail of trying to figure out what this is all about. And then we got the gameplay and the combat. And what really got me hooked as well was the wall running. I saw the wall running, the parkour, the tethering. I'm like, so you're telling me I have Kuro Games back in this with the combat, which I know is going to be top tier, but then you're giving me the ability to explore in the way that you can wall run and it's fluid and you're parkouring all over the place. Sign me up. Where can I pre-register? And then where is the closed beta? Get me in. You know, that was it. And then I saw the characters, of course, and their designs, and then the post-apocalyptic feel. I was like, yeah, this is for me. I'm in.
Post haste.
Right. Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. For me, yeah, it was definitely like I said, the parries, but I'm glad you brought that up, Loba, that white and red design Crownless. You want to know what got me? What just took me over the edge? And this isn't technically combat, but it's a part of it. And we'll get into more of this later. When the Crownless transformed, and specifically that anime-esque moment when he like exploded into like a black and white like manga-esque fury, it kind of reminded me, if you all know, there's an anime called Hunter x Hunter, and there is a epic moment from that anime, and I won't like get like into spoiler territory, but there's an epic moment in that anime where a particular character just like goes crazy, and it just goes black and white, like it just, the whole screen, all the color fades. It's like One Punch Man also kind of has a thing with this, where it's like if you look at the very intro of One Punch Man, you'll see this thing where like he's doing a punch and the whole screen like goes like black and white or something like that. And I think they're basically saying like he was punching so fast that it was like breaking some like color barrier or something. It was ridiculous. But yeah, like I saw that, I was like, okay, you guys are going in. These guys are absolutely going in. And then of course, seeing the parries, seeing the aerial combat, and not just like I jumped and hit a button like you could actually do combos. Like I was just like, yeah, we're good. Let's do it. So, like Further said, just sign me up, take my money, like whatever you need, just take it. I think something that a lot of people ask themselves, right? Like the hardcore casual conversation. Yeah, right? So with the conversation, I'm like, a lot of people are really excited because this game seems to have something that offers an experience that we don't really get to see a lot, especially in the gacha space, right? It's not that it's non-existent, but it's just like oftentimes it's catered, and it's not even just the gacha space, but oftentimes you see games that are catered more toward like casual players, right? Which is not a problem. And to be honest, one of the things that I'm wondering is how are they going to be able to balance that? Because I think you need a balance. I believe you need a balance for casual and hardcore. I want this game to be a game that everybody can enjoy. And oftentimes you see with developers, they'll just kind of just take one route. They'll just either serve hardcore or serve casual. But I think that Wuthering Waves is shaping up to be something that can actually do both. And I'm really looking forward to it. And I'd love to hear you all's opinion on that.
This is what I think is the best part about the team building aspect of Wuthering Waves. If you want to be a hardcore competitive person and you want to have one character that you are just perfect parrying the combat, you are targeting no-hit runs because you want to push that difficulty higher for yourself and imposing that challenge on yourself, you can, and it can be super rewarding to memorize a boss's patterns and to be able to execute on that. But not everybody has the time to invest into understanding a boss's skill set or move set and your own personal skill set of the character you like to play to be able to action on that. That's where the whole team building element comes into play for me, where you're just gonna leverage that golden triangle of having a tank, having a healer, and having a DPS in your team. So that if you're not perfect parrying, you're not getting those perfect dodges, you can just still rely on the skills of those characters and bring out your tank, pop off some heals, and you can still make your way through the boss combat in doing that in a way that's comfortable for you. So I think it's still gonna be totally accessible for casual players. You're just going to play differently than the sweaty hardcore gamers. And I think that's totally fine.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. When I was playing Closed Beta 1, just in case for those who are unaware, I did get into Closed Beta 1, played the mess out of it. I dumped tons of hours into the Closed Beta to learn all the nuances and the technicality of Wuthering Waves. And I come to find that out, with what they have and the resources that are available to you in terms of your QTEs. Now, things could be different with CBT2. That's
100.
what has me most excited to be able to see the main differences if I get in. But in CBT1, you had those QTEs, you had a lot of passives, and liberations in terms of your ultimates and the echoes to assist you in combat. So you didn't have to be picture perfect. So for casuals that want to enjoy the open world and play the game at their own pace and then enjoy combat to a degree, you can certainly experience that and not have anything to where you have to be super optimal and have the most meta of builds and things of that nature in order to enjoy Wuthering Waves. And then when they introduce things like shiny hunting and things that they can implement in the future, right? There's certain events that they can put in. There's certain aspects that they can improve upon in terms of with the shiny aspects. I've talked about how they can maybe do like shiny battles as well with those echoes, which I think would be incredibly cool, that I think can play into that more casual audience.
Yeah.
And then leave all the, boss fights, soloing, no-hit runs, and increasing the difficulties with those bosses to the hardcore gamers for them to experience. So that way, there's this perfect meld of, if you're casual, you have this that you can experience. If you're hardcore, you have this that you can experience. And I think Wuthering Waves is in a great position to be able to implement that seamlessly within this game in ways that we haven't seen done before. So the foundation's there and the potential's there. It's now just time for Kuro to execute on that. And that's just something that we'll have to wait and see, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea too, with that like that shiny battle concept. That sounds like something that my wife would love. To be
mean,
honest with you.
because think about it, in my opinion, and not to interrupt, my apologies.
Oh,
I just wanted
fine.
to, just expound upon that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most, outside of combat and gameplay, one of the most unique things about Wuthering Waves is the ecosystem.
Yes.
So why not go ahead and take full advantage of that? You know, you introduce shiny echoes. That is incredible. The community went nuts for that, and rightfully so. That gives you so much more to do inside the open world and in Wuthering Waves outside of just combat and collecting echoes. Now you can actually go out and shiny hunt for them. But then let's take it a step further. Why not battle with those echoes in a way that's, you know, catered more to the casual audience as well? You love catching them and you can show them off. Now let's go ahead and battle with them. And I think that would just, and you can tie certain incentive rewards to them for the casuals as well. I think that is just a $1 million idea that they can really take advantage of.
You made me think about something. Because that shiny battle concept, right? Because you know, like a lot of games, like, you know, Final Fantasy, like a lot of games have these things where it's like you have your main game and then there's like a little side game on it, right? Where it's like, I know, like in Final Fantasy 7, I believe, like there was like a card game that you could play. Dragon Quest 11, I believe it is. Isn't that the most recent one, or is it 10? I think it's 11. The
I
most
have no
recent
clue.
Dragon Quest, the most recent mainline Dragon Quest. There's like a card game in that one too. And so yeah, you could maybe have like a turn-based shiny battle thing or whatever. And to be honest with you, I'm actually further. Do you remember? And same with you, Loba. Do you guys remember? Sorry, Connor. do you all remember when you were leveling up your character? Oh, Connor's leaving. Connor, no.
Don't worry, he's guaranteed for CBT too, so it's fine.
He just wanted an excuse to show off his luscious locks. That's all.
That's all. I'm just trying to flex. That's fine. Except like I don't know. Sorry, I don't know about you further, but I mean, but also everyone here also has long hair.
I was gonna say I have short hair. Everybody else has long hair, so I see a theme with this podcast. It's okay.
Not exclusionary, I promise. No, but if you guys remember when you were leveling up characters, so like basically like whenever you level up a character, like this is in a lot of games, especially gacha games, there's like a threshold that you have to get to, and then before you can like level up your world, basically your world level, you have to like prove that you can beat a certain challenge. Do you guys remember where that was in Wuthering Waves? It was like this little research station, and you would go in. Yeah. There was like a guy at the door. You go in, you fight like some bosses in that thing, and then your world levels up. That looked like a perfect place for something like that, like a shiny battle, kind of like in a Pokemon style.
Yeah, I agree. Like almost, they should create almost like a Pokemon Stadium, but like an Echo Stadium somewhere in the world. You know how they have that island that's off in the distance. That's where the hardcore content is.
0 point.
Yeah, exactly. They should maybe have something like that. And once again, this is the great thing about Wuthering Waves and where it's at right now. It's in its infancy with CBT2. They can implement this at any time, and they have so much time to do so. But yeah,
As
like
a limit.
Yeah, exactly. So like a place maybe in a different world that we explore off in the distance somewhere, where it's the Echo Stadium. And that's where you can go to battle it out. They can do it in maybe seasons as well. It doesn't have to be something that's 24/7. It could be like in seasons that they do for X amount of rewards for that season. It gives players incentive to go out in the world and get those echoes. Once again, show off your shinies and flex, but also actually use them in a practical way outside of just transforming into them. Because in that aspect, you're limited as well. Once again, you're probably gonna, and we'll touch on this more in a second, but you're probably going to be using, you know, the most OP ones. So you're not always going to be using every single echo unless you just want to experiment.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
So it gives you a way to be able to use the many different echoes that you collect, right? And then the cool thing, it's the little things as well. The figurines with them is so cool, right?
I thought those were sick. They look like little Nintendo amiibos.
Right. And then and then think about being able to then use them. And then, you know, people are going to come up with strategies on, you know, which ones have the best effects and stuff like that, and which ones are the best to use. So I just think it's a great way for not only casuals to enjoy the game even further, but also, pun intended.
Oh my God.
But jeez, but also lost my train of thought, but also to be able to give them more replayability in a sense. And I think that's what people want in these type of games, is replayability. Give you what is the reason that I'm logging in every single day? And I think
Yes.
it gives you just one other reason to log into the game.
100%. What about you, Lobo? What do you think?
Can-
Casual, hardcore. How are they gonna make that?
Yeah.
How are they gonna make that work?
So hearing you guys talk, oh man, I had like so many thoughts rolling through my head, and like, so like for the casual, so there's two different things that I think for casual. There's obviously characters that are like easier to use than others, so that would be more like served for the casual player, I think, right?
Yes,
but
agreed.
for the hardcore players, what I think there's two different unique things that I want to talk about. So like, there are characters that are really hard to parry with or counter with. So to see someone like solo boss with a specific character that's hard to use, if I see
Yes.
someone do that, I'll be like, wow, like this guy's like serious. Like this is actually
Or
a
girl.
really challenging thing to do, you know? Another thing that I was thinking that would be a cool mode for like a hardcore player, and I'm gonna reference Kingdom Hearts. So if nobody knows about the Kingdom Hearts series, my favorite. So Kingdom Hearts is like a big franchise, and they serve for casual and for hardcore players, right? The casual, if they want to go through the story, enjoy that, you know, play through the game easy, right? But they have harder modes and difficulties. And what I would like to see implemented as like a hardcore mode for Wuthering Waves is to give us a level 1 toggle option where you're at level 1. So if you fight a boss and you get hit once, you are done. You got to start again. That to me is like the best hardcore
Now,
option.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Does that mean your damage is level 1 too, or just your health?
I wouldn't necessarily say damage because like it would take a long time to beat the boss, right? So
Yeah,
I think
agreed.
level 1 as in like if you get hit, you're dead. That's it.
Okay, so one shot kills basically.
Yes, basically.
Like,
That's what
yeah,
I would like
basically
to
no
be. Yeah, that would be a cool like little extra mode to add to the game. And for sure, like if you could do that, you definitely should be rewarded for that. So that would be like an extra incentive for the hardcore players, right? Casual players, they're not gonna even try that. They're gonna be like, oh no, that's too hard. I just want to fight the boss at my own pace, right? But that hardcore option I would love to see implemented, or something to that matter, would be very nice to see in Wuthering Waves.
Yeah, that's just a nice quality of life feature that, like, you know, a lot of people from the PGR community who love to do those no-hit runs and love to push it are going to be looking at Wuthering Waves to do that. So I think having a quality of life feature like that, that's going to enable people to do that more and kind of create a community of content around the game, like on YouTube, on Twitch, like to be able to play that out, I think is just like a great way to cater to those people. But there's something else on the casual side that I was just thinking about, is in that ecosystem that we were talking about, is how we've seen in the recent devlogs using echoes to counter bosses. So maybe you don't have the best like timing on parrying or dodging, but you can activate one of your echoes to parry the boss for you. That there's seemed to be a much bigger window or kind of like grace period for making that happen, that I think is just like another thing that casual players can look at using as like another tool in your tool belt to make that happen. That I'm really happy to see a change like that. You guys were talking about the whole like ecosystem and like the battle system, and like I think I'm just kind of like a different kind of gamer in that way, that like those kind of systems for me personally, those are the systems that I do for the rewards, because they're like I just have to do them, I guess. Like I so I guess you were coming from, I think there's definitely going to be like an audience out there for it. There's people who want to do that, and because I think of like Sonic Adventure 2 battles, they had like the Chow Garden, where it's just this completely random side thing where you could raise the chows in these like
I remember that.
random races and
Right.
the
It's
karate
kind of
fights
fun
and
a
stuff.
little bit when I was a kid. It was actually kind of cool,
It was
but
fun.
now I probably would be like just for the rewards.
That's what I mean. So it's like I can see like why maybe for a certain kind of player you might be more interested in a system like that. I would rather there be just more variability in the content that casual players can still come in and play and enjoy what the game's trying to be, as opposed to necessarily creating too many parallel systems that require like grinding along with them. But I think kind of like you said further, where like, you know, maybe that's something down the line that they look at expanding into, is just like another, like to bring more variety to the content. But I know early on, I don't want to jump ahead. I know we're going to talk a little bit about endgame content, but like I know I'd love to see more variability there.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna get there.
Yeah, and 100%. And just to clarify, I just think that would be a good system for casuals, because don't get me wrong, I'm more of your type of gamer, Connor, where I'm more interested in the mechanics of the gameplay and having bosses have different mechanics. Once again, we'll talk about that here in just a moment, and going deeper on that level. But just from a more casual standpoint, maybe that, because I will probably do that for the first time to experience it. But then, yeah, that might be something where I'm probably not going to visit it unless it's a lot of fun. Even if it has rewards tied to it, I'm probably just going to skip it altogether. But I could see possibly an audience for it, to where it just, it's just something else that it gives them to do. If they're not into that hardcore getting in depth with the combat.
Yeah,
Right,
and
yeah.
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I kind of see it like housing systems in a similar way, that like there's definitely a niche
Exactly.
audience of people who love to like fine
Yes.
tune their houses and their buildings, and
Which
have
I
the
can't stand,
characters
by the
in
way.
there. Yeah, like I do the bare minimum,
Like the
to get
dorm
the
system.
rewards. Yeah,
They're like, let me see your dorm. I'm like, bro, if I take you to my dorm, it's gonna look like an empty room. Don't worry about it. The dorm is, don't worry about it.
Like
just
Animal
stacked
Crossing
50
for like
couches in
echoes.
Exactly.
Exactly. I just dump things in there because it says I need to for an achievement.
However, I love watching dorm videos on YouTube. Like I've seen some sick stuff where like people have made like amazing creations, and they're really cool to watch. And the thing, like I said, you don't have to put like rewards tied to it. Sometimes the experience itself is the reward, you know? Like if it's a good enough system, like I think we need to get back to that concept of like, let the reward be the actual gameplay. Let it be so fun that playing it is a reward. Like I said, they could like create a little system, maybe like rankings or whatever, or like something like that, basically. Now this is what I want to also say, and to be honest, in some ways we did kind of go into like a concept of whether that would be a co-op thing or would it be against NPCs. That's a whole nother thing. So maybe that's for another time conversation. But my answer to the casual versus hardcore thing is, I think one of the things that would actually help casuals, because during the closed beta test 1, I actually let my wife try it out, and she actually had fun. Now, of course, she wasn't like, like no hit running anything, but she enjoyed it, long story short. And I think this is why I always talk about the Crownless boss being such an amazing fight, because it's basically a fight that teaches you how to play the game, right? And if we were to think about fighting games, one of the best things for a casual player, if they want to, is to be able to convert them into a potentially more hardcore player. And one of the ways you do that is you make the experience accessible so that they can enjoy the learning process. And that gets into this concept of tutorials. That, like, you've seen this in fighting games throughout history. If you even go back in the last 5 years, you have games like Guilty Gear, right? Like, they have been doing some amazing work with their tutorials. And I was thinking that it would be really cool if we had something like that, to where not even just with the tutorial, like being able to clearly show people like, this is what a parry is. This, making it easy to learn, hard to master, basically. Like, it should not be a hurdle to try to understand what your character can do. Now, we saw that even in the first closed beta, where it's like some of the attacks were very simple, but then you could see, like, I remember there was this clip surfacing from China where somebody did like this aerial combat with Jian, Yang Yang, and Sanhua, where Yang Yang knocked them up, Jian dashed like back and forth in the air. Like, it was ridiculous. And you had all 3 characters on the screen almost at the same time, like just unlocking the possibilities, right? But you can enjoy, we were enjoying the combat and we didn't even know that existed. So in the same way, a casual player can enjoy the combat thoroughly because they understand what they're doing, but there's still something for the hardcore players. Even when it comes to like the UI, right? The UI, one of the things in Guilty Gear, and I don't know if this would just take too much data to do, but, or, just an idea. Where in the UI, you have, or maybe it's like an option, you can turn it on or something. So that way you can save data if you're on mobile. But in the tutorial, sorry, not in the tutorial, in the menus, where they show you what your character does, maybe having like a little screen that shows like an animation like this skill does this, and it shows you what the skill. That's what, like I said, they did in Guilty Gear, and just things like that would help casual players, I think, be able to understand and appreciate the combat more. And once again, they don't have to go super hard, but at least it'll make the what seems like, oh, this is a hardcore only game, like it will make it seem a lot more approachable.
That's something that, oh sorry, I was gonna say that's something that actually, like, another game from Kuro, Punishing Grey Raven, does really well, is they have a very like in-depth tutorial system, like for each individual character that you actually like walk through, and it does a great job of like, it shows the buttons at the top of the screen that's like, okay, like this is their 4-hit combo, like you do it, it shows you when it's activating, and it shows like, and then you're actually doing the action for it, and then it tells you what the skill does, and it shows you the 3 ping versus a single ping. Like it gets you, it literally walks you through it in a way that like you're actually doing it yourself, so you not only see it but like you feel it. And they have that available for every single character. That is a great way to experiment. One, if you want to decide to pull on a character, you get to try them out in that way, but also it helps you understand the character like a little bit more clearly for those things. So 100%, I would love to see more accessible things like that being implemented for it.
Yeah, and then for the hardcore side of things, this is something that I've touched on before, mini bosses. I think like mini bosses in the open world would be such a great feature. We've seen this in other games as well, but just like as you're exploring the open world, you're just like walking around, enjoying yourself, trying to farm some echoes. You turn a corner and it's like, oh shoot, why is that normally gray enemy shining red? You know, it's just like, and that sounds like that's like a really cool thing. Like you get like a little achievement or something. It's just like a nice, cool thing to like increase the variability of like variety in the open world. And now this is another thing I thought about, and I've heard this before, this sentiment. This sounds like a dream. It really feels like it would never happen, but you never know. And for anybody listening, you know, tell Kuro about us. What if we had like periodically timed kind of like raids where like there was like a giant, like there was like a boss that roamed the world, and it was like in different areas at different times, and you could get like a special drop or something from it. I remember, I don't know if it was something we had spoke about in conversation or it was in the last podcast, but maybe you said it, Loba, like if you could get like shinies, like there's certain time periods where you'd have a higher chance of getting a shiny or something. Like maybe it could be something like that, where it's like similar fashion, certain time periods, there'll be certain bosses around the open world, and it's like, oh, you can find this boss somewhere in the insert name here region, and everybody would just be like searching around it, like grouping up, going to each other's worlds, trying to find this particular boss, and it drops like, it has a higher % chance to drop some shiny or something. That, or just something that would be cool.
I was gonna say, like, that's actually like really, that idea would be so good just for like as like a co-op aspect, like to involve the community, to involve friends. It would feel like I'm actually like motivated to like grind for something, right? And I could do it with my friends as well during the co-op like session, right? I actually really like that idea a lot. And I actually just thought about something like, it would be cool too that like if they made the shiny like echoes a little bit more difficult, right? Like maybe stronger or more aggressive, you know, instead of just like the normal echo, like make it a little bit more challenging in the open world. I think that would be pretty cool if they could implement that. And also, yeah, I think that would be pretty cool.
I would say not too challenging though.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because, like I said, I think that system is more appealing toward casuals.
Yeah.
Not saying
exactly.
everybody wouldn't enjoy it, but just don't make it too challenging, because then it would feel probably like too much of a barrier.
Exactly.
For casuals. But yeah, that would be cool. I have a question for everybody.
Sure, go for it.
So, what are you all's thoughts concerning combat types? So, what I mean by that is there's a lot of weapons that we have in the game already. We have, you know, long swords, essentially. We have pistols. We have, I want to say, was it called Orlator or something? It was kind of like this game's version of a catalyst or something like that.
Yeah, Orlator. Yeah, that's
right.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, you had like, as Loba said, pugilists.
Say it. I don't know how to say it. It's pugilist or pugilist.
Pugilist? I don't know.
I think pugilist is actually like the
I
proper
think that's
term,
the
but a lot of
correct,
people read
yeah.
it as pugilist.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
okay, I said it right then.
It sounded better, so I was just like, oh, I learned a new word. But yeah, so it's like you have those, right? We have those. Let me see. So yeah, pistol, pugilist. We have
Lightning whips.
yeah, essentially, we have so many different things. And there's so many different type of archetypes, right? That we could get. Even when it comes down to not even just the weapon, but the fighting styles, right? Because you could have two people, like for example, you have Yuan Wu, who's more like a pugilist, and you have Jian Shin, I think is how you say her name. I'll figure it out soon. But it was the new character with the two-toned hair, and I believe her fighting style is kind of similar to like Tai Chi, if I'm correct.
Right.
And so, like, there's so many different weapons, so many different fighting styles. Do you all have any particulars that you're excited about? And then a follow-up question to that is, what are you all's kind of character kit preferences? This is just kind of like a personal question in terms of like, what do you enjoy? Do you sort of like fast attacking characters, or maybe slow hitting characters that do a lot of damage? By example, you have your puppet users and, you know, some like long range type characters. So what combat archetypes essentially are you interested in, and what is your personal like kit preference when it comes to like, because obviously we'll be trying a lot of different characters, but like just something that you're probably extremely excited for.
I think this is where Kuro is where they really get it right, and I think this is where they're the most unique, in my opinion. Outside of the ecosystem, I think the individual gameplay and combat of their characters or resonators is incredibly unique, but not only that, incredibly in depth. So what I've noticed is that Kuro, in my opinion, has crafted more hand-to-hand combat characters than I've seen so far in any game, and it's not even released yet. We have Ling Yang, we have Jianshin, and we have Wan Wu, who all are hand-to-hand combat resonators, and once again, the game hasn't even released. So that's incredible to see, and they're all very unique with their hand-to-hand combat in of themselves. So that is amazing, and that's something that I truly enjoy. I'm a fast and flashy type of gameplay style, and so far, I would say about 85 to 90% of the characters in the game are fast and flashy for the most part. So it's right up my alley, 100%. But not only that, if we take a look at other characters like Jian, for example, he has 2 different ultimates. Like, how incredible is that? And once again, the game isn't even released yet. Yeah, it's incredible. So the uniqueness of these characters and their unique gameplay styles and their unique passive is what I'll just call it for right now, are all things that are to be explored. And I encourage for anybody that plays the game to explore these characters in a way that you may not have before, because when you pick up a character, you may think you don't enjoy them until you actually use them. And then you find out that this character is actually incredibly cool with their passive and all that they come with it, because it's way more in depth than just surface level in what you see.
Can I interject real quick?
Mm-hmm.
That was me with Joy Yuan. Like,
right.
Or Joy Yuan? It's Joy Yuan, I think. Yeah, like I got her first, and I was just like, oh man, I didn't really want her. Like, she looks cool, but I didn't really want her. And then I tried her out, and I was like, yo, she's actually fun. Like, she was. So just to your point.
Yeah, no, exactly. That was the same for me. A similar one was Tao Chi, because she was very slow and what seemed to be sluggish. But when I picked her up, when you hit her ultimate, it's like an absolute truck. And for me, that was exciting to see. And so I enjoyed using her more often because of that reason. Also, the counters were a lot of fun to do.
I love Tao Chi, yeah.
Yeah, so she was amazing, but when I first saw her, I didn't think I was gonna like her. But yeah, that just leads to the point of try each character, even if you don't think you're gonna enjoy them, explore them a little bit more in depth, and I guarantee you'll find something that you like about them. So that is just my take on that. In terms of the type of like fighting style, I would love to see, since we're on the hand-to-hand combat and that seems to be the trend with them right now, I would love to see like a drunken master type of fighter in the game.
Sick.
That would, because one of my most favorite movies is Jackie Chan, the Drunken Master. So to have somebody equivalent to that in the game, and you can have a like his passive or specific mechanic, or it could be her, would be that during certain combat sequences, like your basic attack, like one of your skills, you take a drink or something like that, and the more drunk you get, the different the style becomes, and the more fast and fluid they become. For me, I think that would be incredible. Or you do the ultimate and they chug a whole bunch, and then all of a sudden they're in that drunken master state. I'm just thinking outside the box and spitballing right now, but to me, that would be incredible. I would love to see that.
I think. Oh.
Sir, go for it.
No, yeah. So I was gonna say, just to piggyback off what you said, what it would be really cool if, like, so in there's some games where you'll have variants. They'll intentionally put. Actually, I think they might have done this actually with Rover, where if you after your second or third attack, I think if you like delay it, you got one thing to happen, and then if you did it fast, you got something else to happen. Yeah, because basically, I think it was after the third attack, there's like this little symbol that shows up on Rover, and if you hit the button after that symbol, like essentially like you perfect, it's not that difficult, but if you hit it at the right time, you got a certain attack to come out. And if you didn't, it was just your normal 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you did 1, 2, 3, 4, pause for a second, or 1, 2, 3, pause for a second, then hit it, you got like the little thing to that spins around. And so
Right.
with the drunken master state, maybe it could be like, like 1, 2, and then if you like wait for like a delay, you could maybe like hit. You have two options, right? Like one button does one attack and another button does another attack. It's kind of like a Rekka, if you're familiar with like fighting games.
Yeah,
So it's like,
right.
Yeah, that would be kind of interesting, and that could really kind of mess. Like, I mean, I guess in a PvP it would mess somebody up, but it would just be a cool variance to where it's like 1, 2, and then I can choose what I do next, depending on the situation in the fight. Like maybe it was like 1, 2, go in for a very committal attack versus 1, 2, evade.
Yeah, and I think what would be cool is like if he had a gauge, and like if you drink too much, you become like incapacitated for like 2 to 3 seconds. So you could either like switch characters at that point really quickly, or you can manage that gauge. So like you know the gauge is getting close to being filled, so you don't take a drink and you just let it come down a little bit, and then you start drinking again. You start getting into that state, and like the more drunk you get, the more powerful you get, but then you're getting closer to where you're gonna become incapacitated, something like that. I just think that would be very unique. Have you micromanage a little bit more, master that character. I can imagine seeing people solo run the Crownless with the Drunken Master, and they do it in a very like unique, fluid, almost encapsulating way to watch them use that character, like master them. So I think that would just be fun.
Oh man, I'm loving this like character we're building up. Like you drink too much, you pass out, turns into like Rest from Pokemon. You actually start
Exactly.
healing,
Yeah,
lying on
you're
the
stuck
ground.
there.
Man, like, did you guys ever play Mortal Kombat? Like, if I say Bo Raicho, do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes, but no.
Oh,
No, unfortunately not.
He's basically this big fat bearded guy whose whole combat style is drunken fist. And like I know a lot of gacha games angle themselves around having like the hot waifus. That's a big selling feature for it. But I would love seeing just this big burly drunken fist guy. And I was thinking on when you were talking about like the making the character more intoxicated, the idea in PGR, certain characters have a passive that gives them a temporary auto dodge.
I know where you're going with
active.
this. Yeah.
So you activate, the passive skill by drinking too much, and then there's like a temporary, few seconds where you have like the auto dodge.
He's auto dodging and like perfect parrying himself for you.
Exactly. So you were bringing that up. I was like, oh my gosh, that would work so well. Like, oh man,
that is
so
beautiful.
fun.
You know what I was thinking? I was thinking while I was speaking about it was Jamie from Street Fighter 6. And when he gets into his drunken, are you aware of that? Jamie
I
from
gotta double check.
I was gonna double check.
From the
That's the new character. Yeah, I know.
The new character
he's
from Street Fighter 6
too. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to do like 4 drinks, and you have to like weave that into your combos and your fighting. So like if you're playing footsies and you're trying to stay a little bit back, you could take a quick swig, right? And then you need like 4 or 5 swigs. I'm not exactly how many. And he gets into that drunken state. He has like a very nice braid, and then when he goes into the drunken state, his hair like flares out all over the place, and his move set just changes entirely. I'm thinking of a character that may be similar to that, like have where you could tell they're in a different state, like they have an aura now around them, and then all of a sudden they're perfect parrying and they're perfect dodging, But if you keep in that state for too long, or if you go overboard, yeah, you're like incapacitated for like 2 to 3 seconds. So then you got to decide, am I going to take the hits or am I going to switch characters real quick? And I think that just leads to more fun and diverse gameplay. But yeah, that was the first thing that came to my mind, was like a drunken master for the hand-to-hand combat. I think that'd be cool.
Based.
Man, it's so much to dive in when it comes to like Wuthering Waves combat and like character like kits and stuff. So like what I find really unique about just Wuthering Waves kits for the characters, like they're all complex and like they all have like different varieties and spices and ingredients, right? So like what I prefer a lot, like you guys mentioned Taiochi, like she's literally like one of my favorites too, because she not only can she like counter or parry like everybody else, but she has like an extra counter to her kit. So like if you hold,
But she's actually my favorite though, just saying.
yeah, like the fact that she can like she has that extra counter with that with that shield, like, and then it breaks the shield and it's like based off like her defense. Like it's like, I love that a lot. I hope they implement that more with other characters, right? Because it'll give us like more opportunity to like do some unique gameplay too, you know? And also the another unique one that I would say is Danjin. Danjin is like another one that I really enjoy a lot. Like when you first start trying her out, it's a little difficult because you're like, I don't know how this character works, because people are just like auto attacking, but they don't realize that you can use your skill 3 times in a certain order, or in like sets of 2 or sets of 3. I hope they implement something like that too. Not always 3, but maybe like on the second skill with the second auto attack, that's like the best hit, right? Or for Denjin, it's the 3rd one, and then she self heals too. Like there's so much like complexity in there that I really like. And when they add that, I get really excited, because it's like you're trying to figure out how these units work and how can you use them to your advantage, like when you're in the open world or when you're doing end game content, you know? So also for the one, what's her, Ji Xian? I forgot how to say her name. The new
one, Jianshin.
Yeah, Jianshin. So like she's another one that like just from her gameplay alone, like I'm like, man, like she could like kind of counter. From what I've seen, it looks like she could like counter in a unique way.
The way he described it, that's it. Yeah. He described it that she'll like take the hit and then turn it back on the enemy.
So that's like a unique like counter, I think, kind of like Taiochi, like she's taking damage. I hope that's the case with her, because that type of mechanic I absolutely love. And I hope, like, since they're like implementing it there, I really hope they implement it more. But when it comes to like the fast paced, slow pace, I'm more of like a fast paced kind of player. Like I don't really like the slow pace too much. Like I know Ankh is like very slow. For me, it's not like my cup of tea, but fast paced, like Taiochi's slow also, very slow, but she's still fun to use, right? Jian, oh my God, that guy's a beast. Like he's just like so fast paced, so flashy, like he does like crowd control. Like he's just so OP, it's insane, and definitely one of the most fun units to use. Yinlin is top favorite right there as well. She's just like, oh my God, she's just so amazing, so broken. So and like the fact that she like throws like her puppet far away, and like based on the distance you could still parry with that too. The one thing that I really want to see implemented and improved for sure is like the gun users. Like I know they can't parry, but I've said this in like a ton of videos before. Like I hate the jumping, shooting, like mid-air combo. I don't really like it too much. Like I hope that they could like fix it in a different way or make it more unique, because it's like literally all the gun users jump, and when they start shooting, they just like go down, and it's kind of like
just have some utility to it.
Yeah,
like
there's no
if you're gonna
use
do it,
to
at least
it.
make it feel like it's impactful.
Exactly.
It was just a little stiff to me.
Super stiff.
Opinion.
Yeah, there's no use for it. Like there's no point.
There is one use.
There is? Okay. Well, but besides
Let me tell you the use.
Yeah.
I did it every time I would like go back to farm crownless. I would jump off that cliff, and then I would just like to go slow, just like slowly get to the bottom just to do it stylishly.
Well, I mean, I was thinking like a unique thing would be cool to see, like a harder challenge. Like this is kind of going into the hardcore. Like if you're like a gun user, right? And you're like, you main only gun users, it would technically be harder to beat like or do like a certain challenge with a gun user because they can't parry. So you can only dodge, but you could only parry with an echo. So that's like another thing that would be cool to see, like people challenge like with the gun user, because technically they are harder to use because you can't parry with them, right? So just wanted to throw that in there. I thought that was pretty unique.
They did say in the devlog that they have like improved the gunplay to be a lot more fluid, like between the animations. And so hopefully that you guys get that kind of like experience again. I didn't have like hands-on on the first CBT, so hopefully like you guys can, you know, see a change there. But I want to ask you a question to see if maybe we'll spice things up here for a minute. Maybe this might make people mad. Who is your favorite character and who's your least favorite character?
Yinlin was my most favorite character to use.
Amen, brother.
Obviously, with my PFP right there. Yeah, 100%. Yinlin was my most favorite. That's probably the one that I dumped the most time into. She was incredible to use, not only because she was incredibly strong, but she was very friendly in terms of her parry window. It was very easy. Her basic attacks, everything felt impactful with her. You do her skill, it felt like you were hitting somebody with a meteor. You do her ultimate. Everything was just very impactful. The sounds associated with her moves. It was just fun to use her. My least favorite. Oh, I'm gonna get a lot of hate. My least favorite was Encore. Well, formerly Anki, but now Encore. Yeah, I'm canceled now. Encore main.
We need to end the Rover Cast,
daily
guys.
main Twitter. Don't come after me for this one. It was simply so don't misunderstand. She's incredibly strong. People are not going to know that probably right off the bat, but I would argue to say that she was probably top 2, bare minimum top 3 hardest hitting characters in the game, bar none. Because she had this absolute nuke that she would do, and then her ultimate turned her into a beast. But I couldn't parry with her to save my entire life. And I sat for hours trying to learn her parry window. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. I got frustrated, and then I didn't play her ever since. But that's not to say she's not a good unit. She's, once again, arguably top 3. I would even say top 2 hardest hitting units in the game. And I know there are going to be a lot of people that gravitate towards her, because I saw, this was after the closed beta 1, I saw a strat where you would build up that passive to where she's going to explode, and then you would switch out to a different character, and she would nuke the field while you're out with a different character. And that was such an insane strat that I didn't even was aware of. But also that person was parrying perfect with her, and I'm like, I don't even know how you're doing that. But I guess that leads to why the gameplay is so fun and unique.
Yes.
And why people are going to discover different ways to play characters, and why this is going to be such a fun adventure and journey to go on and to see videos for, because people are going to discover things that you didn't even think of until you saw it, and then you're going to go and use it, then you're going to be like, hey, this is broken.
Gosh, I can't wait.
So that was a long-winded answer to say Yinlin's my favorite, Encore is my least favorite.
Okay, let me take it on this one.
Let him cook.
You just reignited my Encore. Yeah, Encore. So let's get it. This is the curse of having prior knowledge, you know? Because if we
I did cover my back though. Just saying, I covered my back.
You did. It's understandable. And I mean, to be honest, least favorite doesn't mean bad. Least favorite doesn't mean bad. It just means least favorite.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make people mad.
Clipped.
Trying to get people canceled.
Canceled.
No, so my favorite character, gosh, it's such a difficult question. Like Ling Yang or whatever looks amazing. Is it Ling Yang or Yang Ling?
Yin Ling? Are you talking about the
Are we talking about the new one?
The Lion Boy, yeah.
Yeah, Ling
Yang.
Yang.
Oh, Yin Ling.
Ling Yang or Yang.
Ling.
I guess we'll figure it out when they say it. Yang or Yang, I'm not sure. But
it's Ling Yang.
Okay, so yeah, Ling Yang, he looks sick. Jianshin looks sick. But and it's so hard. But I honestly would have to say, as of right now, and like I said, this is just because of what we played. Obviously, our opinions will change. You know, Yinlin was amazing. I kind of want to get her. After playing her, I kind of want to get her like second copy, because getting 2 of those skills felt so good.
Oh, I had her maxed out. She was amazing.
Are you serious? You got her that?
Yeah.
Bro, that's crazy.
Well, they gave you enough resources to max out characters.
No. Oh, no. I'm talking about like all the copies.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's not really resources. That's just like
You had her at sequence 6?
Yeah, you got sequence 6.
Yeah.
Damn.
What?
Bro.
No, that's not a resource thing though. That's just a you got fortunate in the gacha to get 6 copies of it.
No, they in the closed beta they gave you enough to do a bunch of pulls.
Yeah, but even
Yeah,
with,
no, but there's no guarantee that you're gonna get a bunch of the copies of the same character. You know what I'm saying?
Didn't have like a 180 pity or something?
I mean, I can't remember. I just know like I had copies of characters, but I don't think I got like a variety of characters. Is my point. So I
Yeah,
didn't
that-
get like
same with
the
me.
No,
one
I
six
had
of
a bunch
character.
of I had almost I think all the characters in the game.
I
And-
did
and
too,
you're-
but I got like 2 characters very late. Like it took a
Yeah,
while
like, I
to
got all
get
the
them.
characters as well. I just didn't get sequence 6. It
I
was
think the
kinda
most
like,
I
you know,
got
like-
was sequence 4 or 5 for Jiyan. I
in
was
your
pretty
mailbox, you didn't get extra copies in your mailbox?
No.
I don't think so.
Further, I don't
Interesting.
know who you know at Kuro Games, but if you wouldn't
I
mind
know.
introducing me, I would appreciate that. That would be
Whoever's
great.
editing this, let's go ahead and edit that part out.
Okay,
Oh man.
you're joking, right?
Huh?
You're joking, right?
Man, yeah, she must have been broken on
No,
your
I
account.
mean, I am like 95% sure I had a maxed out, sequence 6 Yin Lin, and that was, they gave you a bunch of copies in the mailbox for these characters.
I remember getting. I gotta check. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe
They
you're
gave you a
right.
bunch of copies for Sanhua, a bunch of copies for
Yeah, but those are
Jiyan,
4
bunch of-
stars. But yeah, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe you're right, and I just
gotta go to
forgot.
past footage. Maybe
I'd have to
I
go
could have
back.
sworn I had a sequence 6.
Roll the tape.
Yeah.
I had her
Oh.
almost sequence 3.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
My
Like, I got some
apologies.
2s and 3s, but I was like, sheesh.
I maxed out somebody. Who did I max? It might have been Gian, because I remember
I'm
pulling
about
a
to
bunch.
say like 4 stars I maxed out easily, but the
Okay.
5 stars were not the case. Like
I went back through my files. Excuse me, my apologies. I thought I was more of a Yinlin main than I was. My bad.
It's you're hoping for the future. That's all.
Oh, I'll
That's what it
be-
is. I'm manifesting.
So for me, I would say my favorite character, like I said, this is basically just because of what I played so far. It might be still Encore. Like she's just such a hybrid. Listen, I made a video, by the way, if you guys check it in my channel or whatever, you'll see the video for Anka and Tao Chi, Encore and Tao Chi now. But Encore was my favorite character. And I heard people like ragging on her in the first closed beta. I was like, y'all don't realize this character is busted. Seriously, busted. Most busted character in the entire game. And for a couple reasons. She damage, she has good damage, but even on top of that, there's a lot of utility. I actually think she has one of the most utility out of any character in the entire game. And I don't know if people read her kit properly to figure that out. But as long as she still operates in the same way that she did kit-wise, she basically, and I don't know if you all remember this or know this, but she enables any character in the game to get their resonance chain expedited, basically. So like every single person in the game will benefit from having Anka on their team to expedite their game plan, basically. When she like switches out, she will essentially, like I did it with Tao Chi all the time, and then like I said, if you guys watch my video, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But like with Tao Chi, you would need like 3 stacks to get her full damage, havoc damage attack with her little counter thing. You need 3 stacks to do that, as well as to heal. And I know that some things have changed with Tao Chi, I think, but just in general, you used to use 3 stacks. Anka made it to where you would only need to have 1 stack prepared if you did Anka her thing properly. As soon as you switch back into Tao Chi, and the thing is, she can force it to happen. Most people, you have to like build up your attack to get your resonance chain down. Anka forces it to happen with her switch in skill, where she like it basically gives you stacks, and like this operates on any character, whatever their resonance chain is. So great damage. On top of that, and this will be my last part for her. On top of that, the great damage, the resonance chain energy mechanic basically that she helps with, and then thirdly, she reduces fusion damage. Like she basically puts a debuff on the enemy. So she's busted. Like she's legitimately busted. And I was just like, and on top of that, she's a hybrid character. So like, you know, with her ultimate, she can do close combat versus you know, the mid-range kind of attacks she does. I just thought she was an amazing character. Character I didn't like I like the least, and this is kind of like this is kind of a cop-out answer, but it was Baileon, who's now named Bai G. Reason why is because I think she was broken. I think she was broken in the first closed beta test, because when I was trying to get, she has something that a lot of people maybe didn't realize, but she actually helps speed up speed. She helps like attack speed. And that's actually really
broken in a good way. Okay.
No, in a bad way. In a bad way, because it didn't work.
Bad way.
It did not work. I tried it so many times. I tested it. It did not work. Because the thing is, technically, she's going to be a really good character for Gian. And I think a lot of people are going to realize like she's going to be like one of his best supports, because she heals, but she also increases attack speed, which is what Gian needs. Because if you read Gian's stuff, the faster he attacks, the quicker he builds his thing up. So essentially, the more attacks he has, you know, and she increases speed, so i.e. more attacks. But the problem was it wasn't working. And so that could be improved, as well as, to be honest, even with the fact that she was broken, just playing her, it was okay, but it wasn't as fun as some of the other characters, to be honest with you. So I would say Baileon, that's one of my least favorite characters.
I will say CBT2, she looks a lot more fluid.
Yes.
To be honest.
I agree.
I was gonna say Yin Lin, but I'm gonna pick a different one because for the already covered Yin Lin, you know. But she is pretty insane. But I haven't tried this character myself, but I can see myself using this character a lot, and I really like Ji Xian, Tai Chi girl, punchy girl, whatever you want to call her, right? Honestly, like just from the gameplay that we've seen of her, like I already see like her being very useful. It looks like from her ultimate, she looks like she kind of like slows down time. I'm not really sure, right? I don't know if she does the same effect as like Tao Chi when she does her ultimate. She kind of slows down time as well. But I don't know if Jia Xian does that, or I don't know how to say her name, but I don't know if she does the same thing, but I could see myself using her because she looks like she has that counter that I mentioned earlier that it's very unique, and she's very fast paced too, she looks like, and I love her design and like the whole like yin and yang thing. I love that. And I can't see what team comps I would use with her, but for right now, I think she's like my favorite, like in design, and like actual like combat looks so good. So for sure, she's my favorite right there, and I hope I get to try her in CBT2. My least favorite, I don't want to rag, but I have to say Encore.
Blame Connor.
Yeah, I just like, I didn't have enough time to actually really try her. So this is kind of biased because like she was the last character I got on CBT1 when I got all my characters. So like I didn't have enough time to really dive in and use her or level her. I didn't have enough resources to level her. But when I started playing with her, like she was cool. She has a lot of different variety when it comes to like long range, mid range, close range. She has all that. Her kit is very complicated in my opinion. Like it's really hard to like really dissect it. It's so
complex.
It is insane. And the only thing I don't like is the clunkiness. She's a little clunky for my taste in gameplay. But I'm sure they're gonna fix that in CBT2.
Just get good, forehead.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I should just get good, but but yeah, I would say she would probably be my least favorite, because at least for the other blonde chick, the one with the Jui, yeah, she's a lot faster. You know, like
you're talking about Jui Yuan?
Jui Yuan, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Who's Jui Yi?
Maybe we're mixing names, but Jui Yuan she's
Yuan, yeah.
She, even though she's kind of like in the same category as Anke, like she has a lot faster paced combat, and she does mid attacks too, like mid air combos too, that are pretty unique. So
that dash is sick.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like she rides vines and stuff. It's pretty cool.
That joint was sick.
Yeah, but
she was incredibly useful too.
Yeah, she was a good healer.
100.
So favorite Ji Xian, if I'm saying her name right, and then least favorite Encore.
For me, I get the benefit of I don't have hands-on experience, so I don't have to judge based on like full utility and gameplay. So I get to be superficial about it, and I'll bring in some variety here. I'll try not to repeat. So, top character for me right now, if I'm not saying Yin Ling, of course, is Kakarot. Kakarot, I think, looks sick. I'm super
Fair.
excited to try out his kit.
Base.
His redesign and seeing what we saw in the closed beta 2 test announcement, his combat, and seeing that kind of like, I don't know, echo version of himself, or the JoJo stand as a lot of people are calling it. I think that looks fantastic. I'm a big fan of like Final Fantasy VII, like Advent Children. Loved that movie. So like seeing like Sephiroth come in, all the connections there is just setting him up to be probably one of my favorite characters. I know there's concern about him being like standard, but like, hey, that's gameplay. I don't have to care about that right now.
Right.
We'll cross that bridge when it comes. But he's definitely top tier for me. And from a superficial level, because I know you guys said there was some utility there, but like Jue Yi, I didn't care much for. Like,
Who is that?
There's not Jue Yi.
Hard to say your name.
Yuan.
Yuan, yeah.
It's so
Okay.
hard to say your name.
I think she was originally like how like Baileon became Baiju. I'm pretty sure. I think Jue Yuan was originally like a Jue Yi.
Maybe.
One of the, like,
Maybe, yeah,
translations of her
early
name.
days, yeah.
So like that's why I think that's stuck in my head. Kind of like Anka and Encore. A lot of reworks coming through. Yeah, so I don't know. She just like her kind of like design as a character, and even some of like the newer animations and stuff that we've seen, like for her ultimates and abilities. I just like, it's just kind of like that's not for me. Like I don't really care to play that character. So like if the
100%.
Jue Yuan mains want to be in there and go hard, like hey, all the power to you. That will not be me.
Right.
I will say though, just real quick, like you're talking about this. That's a Star Rail character. Jue Yi is a Star Rail character.
Who that is? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's embarrassing.
And
Oh,
Joy,
boy.
though, this is a conversation though. Joy Yuan, and this is just a hats off to Kuro. They honestly made it to where healers felt fun to play.
Yes.
And on top
100%.
of that, they feel useful. Like healers actually feel useful in this game.
Yeah.
I think-
you don't just hit one button and switch out. Like she can actually be on field for a little bit, and it has value.
I think, honestly, this is my opinion. I think that Baiji is going to be one of the most valuable characters in the game upon release, especially for endgame and hardcore content. I encourage, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe she was free.
She was, yeah.
That for free-to-play players, I encourage every free-to-play player to build her up 100%. She's going to be incredibly useful and valuable down the road. So
Yeah, especially as a free character.
especially as a free character. I did have one
Casuals.
quick question for everybody. We knew that and Lobo brought it up, how gun users can't parry. Are you okay with that still, or did you want them to be able to parry? Just as a quick question.
I think what would be cool is, you know how they do the charged attack and like they hold and then like they let go? I think
Right.
if we could parry with that, I think that would be okay.
That actually sounds
You know,
sick.
because it's a stronger attack. You're holding it. It'll
That
add
It
more.
would
sounds
be
amazing.
sick,
Yeah.
but it would be tough to do though.
It would, but that's the
Especially
whole
on some
point, right?
bosses.
That's the whole point of like it being a challenging game. Like that would be cool. It would add more uniqueness to at least the gun users. And also, it would
Wouldn't
make,
it be too easy though?
I don't think so, because you still have to aim and then you have to time it.
Yeah,
Right.
I guess
time
if,
it. That's
maybe
the
if there's
timing
like a
part because
spot. Yeah, maybe
Well,
there's a spot that like shoot that spot and it counts as a parry.
Yeah, so
it's
I
just
think it
a
would
lot
be
of these enemies move very quickly.
yeah,
too.
it would be pretty
Yeah.
difficult. I think it would be difficult. But that's the
It'd
whole
be cool
point of
if
the
they had
challenge.
some other thing too. Like maybe if they don't parry, but they have like something to replace the lack of that utility. But
Yeah, I think the gun users need like a little bit more spunk or something. They need to add like one more thing
more
to them.
guns.
No, I mean not necessarily.
Sniper character.
Well, I would love to see a character that has like it's like a gun / sword user. So like holding
Leon
one gun
from
and then
Final
a sword.
Fantasy.
Yeah, something like that. That would be super cool to see in a
Gotcha.
character. I just want to throw that out there. I'm hoping for that. So crew, if you're listening, cook.
So one thing I want to say.
Kitchen.
One thing I want to say, you touched on this real quick, and this can be like a really quick segment, but you touched on this a little bit. We were talking about Tao Chi and Jian, how Tao Chi basically has like the parry ability, but she kind of has the shields, right? And then Jian, in essence, is a crowd controller, which is kind of crazy. Like, bro is She's crazy. What are you all's thoughts on the crowd control abilities in general? Like the role of crowd control slash, damage mitigation essentially, and how that progresses. Because I know that's sometimes a conversation of like, oh, shields make the game too easy, or crowd control makes the game too easy. I know even with the what was it called? The resonance chain. What is it? It was the concerto effects, right? Where some of them had like a time slow thing, which I always thought was sick, and I think a lot of people did too. But what is our just general quick opinion on the role of crowd control, damage mitigation, crowd control, things like that?
For crowd control, like it just depends, right? Like you would use those mechanics for certain situations, right? So crowd control is obviously for like hordes, a lot of bosses. You want to bring them together so you could do the outmost like DPSing, right? I don't have a problem with it. I think it's pretty cool. I would like to see like crowd control with like different characters, like, I mean, for instance, like Alto kind of has crowd control, sort of. It's not really crowd control, but he has like a taunt, and he also has like auto targeting. So like if you build up his chain enough, like he'll auto target every single enemy or a single target sometimes. So that's pretty kind of like crowd control-y in a sense, right? The shield for Taiochi's like I mean, honestly, it's just, I think it's so broken and so OP that it's like a safety net. So like if you don't want to die, or if you are low on HP, she's a good unit to have for that scenario. But I think right now, the way they have crowd control and the shielding and stuff, I think it's okay. I don't think they need to really like fix it too much. I would like to see more like different types of like unique stuff, like in different ways on like how to use it, right? But for now, I think it's okay. I don't see a problem with it right now.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. For me, like crowd control is just kind of like part of the game, right? Like if you're fighting a whole mob of enemies or a whole horde of enemies, let's say, like I personally love CC effects that just like group enemies up. So then when you are going through a chain or a combo, you can just unleash that on multiple enemies at a time instead of necessarily needing to fight each individual enemy over and over and over again, because sometimes it starts to feel a little bit tedious. And I think crowd controller effects are another layer of dynamics that allow for like that team building element that we're talking about, and experimenting who's going to do, like bringing in different types of crowd controllers for different scenarios, and having enemies that are immune to certain types of crowd controlling still requires that variety. So like having certain bigger enemies that can't be knocked up. It's like, okay, well then you're not going to bring a crowd controller that can do that. Or maybe there are certain enemies that resist certain stun effects, so you can't necessarily like do that. So like maybe you do need a shielder in those cases because they've got some kind of super armor, because you're not going to be stunning an enemy when you hit them. So having a more of a cast of characters with different kinds of crowd controlling for different kinds of enemies, I think it's just a great way to make you want to try different enemies for different environments, like having the right tool for the job, so to speak. So I think it's do it if it's done well.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Connor. I think these type of games, they just innately are going to have crowd control effects in them, because it does lead to more diverse team building, but also the mechanics that Connor was talking about. You can have bosses resistance to certain crowd control effects. One thing that comes to mind right off the bat is Gion's ultimate. One of the reasons why it's so overpowered is for hordes of enemies. You pop his ult and the crowd control they can't do anything. They're just getting swept up by the dragon. So they can't move, they can't do anything, and that's great for, quick farming. So that way it's not feeling so tedious. But if you do that same ult on a boss, nothing happens. You're just doing a lot of damage, but you're not crowd controlling them. So those are different things that you can take into consideration. Also, like the latest gameplay from the where they were at, they showed the echo, the turtle echo with the bell, and how that knocked up enemies. And I thought that was a really cool thing as well. So you can have different effects. I think crowd control is a good thing. Freeze, knockups, paralyze. All that I think are integral to the game for being creative with your team builds and what you put together. Because just because you have a character that can freeze doesn't mean you're going to clear the content all of a sudden. You might be lacking in the power department to be able to do enough damage in the first place. So I think it's a good thing, and as long as it's compensated for, right? As long as the crowd control isn't so overpowered that you're now breezing through content because you can cheese it in a sense. As long as there's mechanics in place to be able to counteract it to a degree, I think it's valid to have.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the thing that we also need to take into consideration, crowd control in and of itself is a form of damage mitigation. Because just like you said with Gian, if you're like knocking them up, they can't attack you. So you're actually reducing the damage that you're taking. If you're freezing them, they can't attack you. This is why you have these different types of mechanics, because they actually can help you with that. Like if you have, for example, a team that has really good freezing, it might be the case that maybe you forego a healer and you just go, do that and try to beat the boss or what have you with just the crowd control effects as alone. And so I would personally say, like I said, I think that it's fine. Plus it's nice for casual players as well to be able to have that. Like having those options makes it to where you can still enjoy the game and kind of get through that part. And at the end of the day, just like Connor said earlier, you don't have to do it. So with that being said, I was wondering, we touched on this a little bit, and I kind of want to get into like everybody's opinion, that I know everybody's going to be asking about this. This is one thing that's on everybody's mind. Literally, as soon as this is like the type of thing where you see like the sickest, trailer for a game you've ever seen in your life, and then you're just like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Is there in-game? It's like I have been bamboozled too many times, investing time and energy and all this stuff just to find out the game doesn't have anything to do with the characters that I spent all this time to do it with. So does it have meaningful end game? Keyword. In terms of end game, meaningful, repeatable in-game content, one of the things that people think about is mode variety, right? There's a bunch of different things. We saw 0 Point Research Station. There's conversations around like roguelike modes, thoughts about like horde modes. And I think it's fair to also say that we touched on this earlier, the echoes, they're a form of in-game. Like echo farming, the mechanic as a whole, like that's a form of in-game because it's something you can do just outside of the other parts, right? Even when it comes down to co-op, like co-op capabilities. One thing that my wife actually brought up, co-op dungeons. Because the thing is, like sometimes you'll have like these in-game modes and it's like they're really difficult, but they're like, I remember she was just like, it would be so cool if like you could help me with that. Like basically me and her go in there together, and that way she could still experience that content, but it just wouldn't be so like, oh yeah, I've heard about floor 12 or floor 15. Never seen it before, but I hear it's nice. It's like you could actually do that together. And so get some of your friends, do like maybe like 0 Point Research Station, like just have like a separate thing for like single versus co-op, because at the end of the day it's just more options and everybody will know that you did 0 Point Research Station solo. So it's just like you'll get your credit for that, but also giving people the opportunity to do it, like that would just be awesome. So what are you all's thoughts on in game? Maybe if you have some other things just surrounding this idea of the game mode variety and potential co-op capabilities, whether it be 0 Point Research Station, something else, or even echoes. So yeah, just go off.
Okay, I completely just lost my train of thought. Oh my god.
You gotta love it, right? It sounded like he was about to cook too.
Yeah.
No, I did, and because you were going off, and I was like, oh, this.
Yeah.
Oh my
Took
god.
the mic and was about to run with it.
Sorry, we got it. We're back.
Okay, cool.
We found the train. I'm back on. We're back on. Okay.
Get in there.
All right.
Here's the thing. When it comes to live service games, endgame is super important because they're doing everything they can to keep people playing the game long term. So once you clear the story content and you've grinded out a lot of the world and the exploration, you do need to have some kind of game mode to go back to. Not every game ever needs to have an end game. Live service games, in my opinion, do.
Good.
So that's why I think endgame is super important. I just wanted to give that caveat walking into it. Now, I think some of the best endgame for me personally would come from more cooperative, like co-op dungeon mechanics like you were talking about. Having an opportunity to do that brings more complexity to the team building elements that you can all come together to do. And yeah, maybe having a solo version and a co-op version of those dungeons, that kind of goes back to the initial question we talked about earlier about, like, you know, something for casuals. Like, you can have co-op dungeons, so like if you got them skill issues, yeah, you can have a buddy come in and carry you. Maybe you can help out with the mechanics and you can kind of get through that process and still enjoy it for what it's going to be. But then if you want to be sweaty, go solo, go nuts. Like, I think that is something I would definitely want to see that. And this is something I asked for in some other games as well, that I want to see co-op raids, like 3 people going into the raid, and that being like, yeah, a requirement. I know that's like not something that everybody wants to hear. Some people like being able to have a solo aspect to it. But actually, Loba and I were talking the other day to Chaotic about this on stream, where we were talking about how there's so much potential in the co-op space for gacha games and for something like Wuthering Waves, that maybe you've got certain boss mechanics that require specific elements. So each of you needs to bring in a different elemented character because there's going to be something specifically tuned for you that's going to come in. And, you know, maybe it's like totems that
sounds
require
really
certain
cool.
damage types. Yeah, that, like, I would just love to see that come into play. The other one you mentioned too, that I actually would be a big fan of, is like some kind of like wave-based game mode. I loved the wave-based game mode in Halo 3 ODST back in the day, when they brought in Firefight for the first time. I loved playing that.
Showing our age, are we, Connor?
Well, okay, maybe. Like, just getting, you know, a few guys together, you all get on the 360, yeah, the Xbox 360, and then just like going hard on Firefight, just pushing it to see how far you can go. It's getting harder and harder and harder. I personally, though, am kind of out on roguelikes for the time being. Like, I don't necessarily need another roguelike game mode that's going to have, you know, different, every floor you get a different perk or effect that's going to augment it. Like, I'm down with like a dungeon having an augment, like, hey, here's the hook on this dungeon, but then it's just increasing in difficulty as you go, and it's kind of like a score attack, like something in Warzone or Pain Cage. That's a cooperative game mode that you can do. That, yeah, the joy is doing the game mode, not necessarily, well, you need to hit 100,000 scores so you can get all of the different premium currency. Like, no, just make it a fun, cooperative, wave-based combat game mode, and like, I'm here for it. And there's other mechanics you can throw in there too to make it more unique. That's not simply just kill them, like, you know, certain like not tower defense, but having like, you know, something they're trying to destroy and you need to prevent them from doing so, to still add another layer of complexity to it. That I'm like, yes, please, that is all I am looking for. I mean, that was a lot, you know, all I'm looking for, but that's what I'm looking for on the end game for me personally, which I know is a lot.
All I ever wanted.
Yeah.
I really do want Kuril to really focus on like co-op. Like, that's the whole point of like the game is, or video games in general, is to bring communities together, play with your friends and all that. I think that's really important, just to keep the game alive, spicy, you know, and more in overall enjoyable, right? But if I could be quite frank, I would really like, you know, the 0 Point research station, that I would like to have like a separate section for either like solo, if you want to do it by yourself, or co-op. Co-oping with that would be really, really fun. I would really enjoy doing that. And the thing is with that, it's very weird, right? Do you reward for co-op there, or do you not reward? Because like technically it would be easier because someone from another world or a friend of mine who could be a whale come into my world and like destroy everything in like one shot, right? So like for that, like I could see it not being as rewarding, just more like a fun thing to do. Like they could give you probably small minimal rewards, not a ton. You would get more rewards obviously doing it by yourself, right? So I don't know how that would play out. I'm still like thinking about like what they should do there, but I think overall, like, go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, even with that, because that's a conversation that comes up a lot. Honestly, I think the solution is having a variety of different types of rewards.
Yeah, exactly.
So that way, it's like maybe you don't get premium currency, but you get something else that's just considered cool. Like, just theoretically, in Punishing Gray Raven, right? You have like these things that you can get to like get skins. Like you can pay for the skin outright, or you can collect the things in the dorms to get a skin, a blueprint.
So basically, you're saying like it would be cool to like you would get like currency for only co-oping. So like a currency just for co-op, and there's a store for the co-op currency
I
only.
mean, it doesn't have to be just for co-op, but
Yeah.
just it doesn't have to be gacha currency.
Yeah, I get
It could
the
be
idea
a
though.
different valuable form of currency.
Yeah.
And that's just an option.
Yeah,
or
that would be
something
cool.
like that.
Even if it was just a character like building resources, like, so hey, if you play this game mode, it's going to allow you to build more characters faster, like just to progress your account in general. Like, I think that again, it allows people who want to be hardcore, want to play all the game modes and want to progress quickly. It's like, yeah, there's more for you to do, and if you do it, you can get more characters built out of it. Not necessarily get more characters, more premium stuff. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, I think that's totally a fair way to go about that.
I got just one more quick take. I think the best thing to like really consider right now, like with Kuro, I have like full confidence in like their end game because of Punishing Grey Raven. They have a lot of end game stuff to do, and they have a lot of bosses. So like, and they're all like unique bosses too. Same thing with Wuthering Waves. There's a lot of different types of bosses you could fight and stuff. So like, I have like full faith in like them like making that happen and making it a good reality for us to like really enjoy. So like, I'm not like too worried about it, because that's like, I think that's their specialty in a sense, right? So I'll end it off with that. I think I'm good there.
Agreed.
Okay, so hear me out. PvP. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. No. So while you guys were speaking, I was thinking about what do I enjoy and what has me keep coming back to play the game each and every time. What I truly enjoy and what I think would have me going back for something is something that I really, really want. So I want to touch on the whole dungeon co-oping aspect. I think that's fantastic. For me, ideally, it would be probably like groups of 4 go in there, groups of 3 or 4. But I want it to be in the aspect where you can't bring items, and I want it to be where the content is difficult in the sense, and the boss has specific mechanics to where it requires you to have one person be a healer, one person be a tank, 2 people be the DPS.
100.
You have to coordinate and strategize who's going to do what, because when I was thinking about what I enjoyed the most with co-oping is when I get on, let's say for example, a Discord call, or if they have in-game chat, and we're about to go into the dungeon and I'm speaking to my friends and I'm like, all right, who's gonna be the healer this time? Who's gonna be the tank this time? Who's gonna be the DPSs? And you guys are fighting over who's gonna be the DPSs because nobody wants to support. So I always found that to be the most fun, but also when you get into the fight, you've done it so many times that you know when you have to heal, when you have to tank, when you have to dodge. So the first time you go in there, you get absolutely smashed because you don't know the mechanics, you don't know the boss. You learn these things as you play it. So once again, you're going back to play this multiple times because now you're learning the mechanics of the bosses and you're not getting one shot each and every time you're going in. For me, that would be incredibly fun. And then to reward you for that, what would have me go in there to do it is like, for example, if they drop like, you have your shiny crown list, but then for doing that one specifically, they drop like a gold crown list. Like the crown list is entirely gold. Something cool. Like they know you show your gold crown list. They know you did that domain or you did that dungeon and you completed it that time around. And then they could switch up the looks each time. It could be like a diamond motorcycle rider, the boss rider, the next time, something like that shows that you completed that dungeon, or you get a skin for your weapon that's specific to that dungeon, or a skin for the character. So it doesn't give you any additional benefits or stats or effects. It's just simply cosmetic. So that way, if you want it, you go in there, you strategize, and you go get it. But if you don't get it, you're not losing out on any stats or anything like that. It's just purely cosmetic. So it's up to you. It's your choice whether you want to. I think that would be something that, at least personally for me, has me coming back each and every time to do it. And then obviously switch it up. They can, once again, do seasons. They could do patches. Different patches have different bosses or raids or whatever you want to call it. And each one has a different mechanic to where you have to go in there, maybe get stomped 10 times before you figure it out, and then strategize on how to complete it. So that would just be me personally.
I do have a lot of confidence in Kuro as a developer that I think there's going to be some good quality end game content, broadly speaking. but I just don't want co-op to be forgotten and treated like an afterthought of like, you can co-op to explore the world if you want,
Right.
but that's it. Like that's the one thing I don't want to have happen. That is just an afterthought of something that's tacked on there because they could. I want them to leverage that for new types of gameplay. I think that's ultimately the biggest part for me, in what I'm looking for.
True. Yeah. I would say for myself personally, just to kind of piggyback off of further, as well as what you said, Connor. I would say, first of all, in the co-op dungeons, I don't think people would be too mad about being healers just because I think that healers are actually fun to play.
They are.
But I know the experience that you're referencing 100%. The other thing is in terms of cosmetics, like I said, I want to be very careful with this concept of cosmetics because I think cosmetics are a very casual friendly experience. And so I don't want to put too much cosmetic stuff in a place where casuals couldn't get it. Because I feel like that would definitely be a pain point. Like literally, that's one of the biggest things that casuals enjoy is cosmetics. Whereas for the hardcore gamers, I'm pretty sure for us, the biggest enjoyment would be the actual combat. So if it was a cosmetic thing, I'd say maybe like, and this is an idea, right? So hear me out. The little Kuro bot, if you guys saw in the closed beta test, if you went over to the Black Shores area, which was technically an off-map area, but if you went over there, if you got to the top of that little place, there's like a little Kuro bot levitating. It would be so sick if you get, so like in Valorant, for example, you have gun buddies, right? Which are like little cosmetics you could put on your gun. It would be cool if like you could have like the little Kuro bot follow you. Kind of like in Nier Automata, right? Where you have the little thing following you. And then you could customize that thing. And so like if you beat those co-op dungeons, that could be something that you customize. Like just that was an idea.
So let me ask you, if it wasn't cosmetic, then what incentive would you put there then?
No. I'm saying cosmetic is okay, but I'm just saying the type of cosmetic being something that isn't so. Because like, I guess my thing is echoes, right? The whole system, echo shiny things or whatever. I don't think it's a far-fetched thing to say that system is a casual friendly system. Like
100%.
And so as a result, to say that you are putting a casual friendly systems reward behind a hardcore systems gate, basically, I would say maybe don't put like echo cosmetics in, because like I said, since it's a casual system, I wouldn't put like the hardcore stuff, the rewards for hardcore things in, I wouldn't make those the casual friendly systems rewards. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
so what I'm saying is, what incentive would you put in there then for somebody to go in there and actually do it?
no, that's why I just said the little Kuro bot thingy. I was saying like you could maybe have that be a thing that you get cosmetics from. Like maybe you can like customize your Kuro bot or something like that. Like obviously that might not be the best replication or like alternative, but I'm just saying like that's an idea. Like I think cosmetic is a good idea, but just maybe not a cosmetic that is tied to a casual system. Does that make sense? I'm not necessarily getting the best alternative, maybe.
I mean, to a degree, but I would want there to be something that shows that it, like, to customize my Curobot. That wouldn't be too exciting for me personally.
Okay.
But to have like a gold crown list to show that you completed that something like that you completed that dungeon, you got it done. And even for a casual, in my opinion, just put them on the role that's the least responsible or the ones that, you know, can maybe quote unquote get carried the hardest.
You were talking about in the co-op version. Oh no. Okay, never mind. I get what you're saying. Because then casuals would also be able to be a part of that. Actually makes perfect sense. I apologize.
See, I think we were making a separation there. Like, I think playing the combat of the game is still a casual system. Like,
Right.
I think when we're talking about like pushing to the hyper competitive stuff is where it goes out of the scope of casual. So I would say like having a raid system is like, that's just like a mechanic that's like part of the game. And so yeah, maybe you're not pushing some of the higher difficulty stuff on that raid, but I think like having raid rewards, like, call me old school, I'm down for there being achievements that are exclusive to certain game modes.
100%.
In the same way that like if there is exclusive cosmetics, let's say on that, like the collecting shinies, and then we had that whole hypothetical of like battling shinies and stuff. If there were specific cosmetics you got from grinding out the shiny or the echo battles, Like, I wouldn't be
Oh.
upset if somebody had cosmetics from that. I'd be like, yo,
Right.
that's sick. Good job.
100%.
Yeah, like you killed that. And for me, what would lead, and this is what I was talking about, how this would be the fun factor for me. If I'm in a group of 4 with 4 friends, and I know one of my friends has skill issues, and they're like, hey, bro, this is really not for me, but I really want that skin. I'm gonna be like, hey, you be the healer in the back. Don't worry about it. Me and Loba and Connor will take care of the front. We'll aggro. You know, that's the fun talk that I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
life, you're getting carried,
We'll
bro.
aggro.
That's
We'll
very
carry
cool.
you. Just pop the heals at the. I'll tell you when to pop the heals. Don't worry about it.
I got
Just
you,
hear the
right?
cues. Wait for the comms. I got
Yeah.
you. You know, for me,
Bro.
that's the fun factor. And he's
100.
like, bro, I really want that skin. Cool. We're gonna get it together. Hop in. Let's go do this. So that's what I'm talking about. And then you have that gold crown list. The season goes by. You know, new players come in. They see the gold crown list. They're like, bro, where can I get that? Oh, they got a new raid coming up. It's not the gold crown list, but it's gonna be the diamond motorcycle guy.
Yeah.
Let's get in. Let's hop in. We'll figure it out together, and
loving
we'll
that.
get it. You know,
I'm
what I
loving
mean?
that system. I 100% agree, and that context is great. Y'all said you like Joy Yuan, right? Right?
Yeah. Hop in the back. Wait for
Oh
the
my
cue.
God.
I got you. This is gonna be the code word. And when you hear that code word, you pop the skill, you pop the ult, and then we're gonna go hard. For me, that's what I find fun, and
Yeah.
and that's what I enjoy with my friends when we're playing.
Yeah.
You know, and it brings me back to, you know, days of, like Connor said, Halo, Call of Duty, where you're being very strategic, and you played it so many times. You tell your boys that never played it before, hey, they're gonna spawn over here and they're gonna run this way. When they do, sit there, pop them off, and I am going to flank them from over here. But in Wuthering Waves context, you're gonna be like, hey, he's gonna attack at 2 minutes. When he attacks at 2 minutes, we're gonna parry him. He's gonna be down. That's when you pop the ult. That's when you pop your skill, and then do your echo, and then we're all in there, and he's gonna be at least a quarter of health at that time.
And then you miss your crit, and it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
that again.
Or you see he still got his ult, and you're like, bro, why did you not pop your ult when I told you pop the ult? That's why we died. You know?
Yeah.
I wonder, can I make a quick take on
Legit.
the cosmetics?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
If Kuro's listening or watching, please, if you do cosmetics for Wuthering Waves, I hope they implement the same system that they do with PGR skins, where they change like the actual animations.
Animations?
Yes,
Yeah.
I really
Think
hope
about the
they.
skins that PGR has. And then imagine that in Wuthering Waves.
Yeah.
Those skins are sick.
Yes.
Now imagine one of those very, very sick skins tied to one of those, you know, dungeons or raids or events.
Yeah.
Where
That
you
would
get
be
it from
cool.
there. Once again, it's purely cosmetic, right? And,
Yes.
and that's I want to emphasize that, because casuals will be afraid that stats are tied to them, and then they're
Yeah.
gonna feel like they're missing out. But it's purely cosmetic, so that means if you want it, go and get it. It's a choice. If you don't want to get it, then you're only missing out on that skin. There's no stats tied to it.
There's
so
no
you're not-
like advantage to it either.
There's
You-
no pay to win advantage, anything like that. It's if you want the skin, get your buddies together, get in there, figure it out. Yeah, you're gonna get stomped a couple times. That's okay. They got it figured out already for you, and they'll carry you.
And I
right?
mean, and to make that casual friendly, you could even have like a queuing system where, like, if there is a boss that you know you need to have like Havoc, Fusion, and Cryo, because I can't remember what the ice like equivalent
Right.
is.
Yeah.
Is
Icio, yeah.
yeah. So then you like, you know, so you can queue up, and like when you queue up, you're selecting, oh, I'm going to queue up as an ice unit. I'm going to, like, you know, so on and so forth. So that when
100%.
there is a team like auto matching system, you know you're being matched with a team that has everything you need to clear the raid. Like, now it comes out a skill issue at that point, and you know, that's going to be something that you're going to have to deal with. But like, that is still a way to combat it for casuals who are like, well, I don't have, you know, 2 or 3 other friends that can come in and run this with me. It's like, okay, throw in that queue, make it happen. Like.
And you
there are
know
ways around it.
there's gonna be enough players to where that queue is gonna happen. All right.
Oh,
yeah.
It's gonna be, the game's gonna be so popular that queue is gonna happen. You queue up as the healer, and they'll queue up as everything else, and then you're set.
Honestly, I think we're all really excited about this. I cannot wait. This podcast alone has just been increasing my hype levels. I was already hyped, and just like all the things we're talking about. Now, mind you, I think it's important we keep our expectations. You know, let's wait to see what the game is. But one thing I will say that does actually make me still excited is that they listen to feedback. So it's not just like all of this that we're saying is just like pipe dreams. Like if you all as the community hear what we're saying, you agree with what we're saying, the bigger that this channel gets, the more influence we'll have, the more that Kuro will actually be like, oh, okay, I see that this is actually like a relevant thing for the community. And like I said, they clearly listen to feedback. So thank you all so much for coming. I want to give everybody a chance to kind of say their goodbyes, shout out your channels. Everybody, first of all, please subscribe to everybody we have here today. And yeah, so you guys can kind of give your closing statements.
Yeah, so of course, first and foremost, thank you for having me on. Once again, it was an honor to be here. I think the Rover Cast is something that the community wants to have as something that they can come to get in on the conversation as well. Everybody has their own opinions. Everybody has their own thoughts and feedbacks and criticisms on how to make the game better. And this is a way for not only the developers to be able to hear our thoughts from a content creator perspective, but also hear the community within the comment section. So I do implore you to go in the comment section if you're watching this and give your thoughts, weigh in on the topics that we talked about, because once again, everybody has their own perspective on what they want in the game, and there's just only 4 of us, so we might have missed something that you think is incredibly important or a priority that they should input. So I encourage each and everybody that's watching this, first sub, then like, and then go ahead and comment, and let us hear your thoughts, because I can guarantee that there is a Kuro developer out there that is watching this and taking notes, and they do look at the comment section and see what other people are saying, and then they do take that into consideration, and then if it's good, implement it. So that is what I will close with. Once again, it was an honor to be here. Thank you so much. I do truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure having you further.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, dude. Really greatly appreciate your time in doing that. And just, yeah, echo everything further said. And also just like remind the community too that now is the best time for feedback. That is the point of a closed beta test too. And also any white knights out there, feedback is not, we don't like the game. Feedback is we want to see the game improve, and we're excited about the future for the game. So
100%.
Now is the time for that feedback, for those changes to come in, so we can help them make the game that we all want to play. So, like further said, leave that in the comments down below. If you get into the closed beta, make sure you're giving them good feedback on any of the surveys or things that come through, because all of us want to see it succeed. Just like Life said, make sure to like, comment, subscribe on this video, but also everyone here, their channels too. Make sure to go and drop a subscribe on Further, Loba, get in there. But me too, if you're open to it. But yeah, thanks everybody.
Yeah, so I'll close off by saying, truly honored to be part of the Rover Cast. Love to have Further here, and we encourage any other creators that want to hop on, if they want to really be included in the Wuthering Waves, Rover Cast. Feel free to reach out to any of us. We're open to pretty much anybody, and we want to include more conversations. More feedback is the better, and this will help a lot with the community and the community feedback as well, and we could help maybe the developers and all that stuff. So, truly honored to be here, and love to have Further here as well, and Connor and Life. Really big shout outs to them. Definitely follow everybody here, give them a big sub, comment below too. Let us know what else we can do, what else you want us to talk about as well. And yeah, truly honored to be here. If you want to catch me as well, Lobo Pixel Gaming on YouTube and on Twitch, Lobo Pixel. So yeah, there we go.
Catch me outside. How about that?
Exactly.
Oh boy.
Hey. Yeah. I just want to echo, I said, same thing. Thank you all for coming. We definitely appreciate you all for coming, listening. The last podcast got so many great comments, so much for the feedback. It was very constructive as well. I don't think I saw really any negative comments, to be honest with you. Everything was just constructive feedback, if it was not overtly positive. And so I'm just grateful for that. And that stuff is being taken into consideration. I have notes that I'm taking. So thank you all so much. Yeah, like I said, comment, subscribe. Maybe get me to 1,000, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate that, little
Big
little goal post.
1K.
And I also just want to shout out to Morden. You guys have been showing him love as well. His channel, he's almost there. So yeah, we gotta catch up. But all right then, everybody. Once again, thank you so much. As always, stay hydrated, be blessed, and we will catch you all later. Peace.
Guys.
Connor, I tried to send you a friend request, but I can't find you.
Hey, you. Do the thing.